All right, into the house. I do not believe this is the original front door. It's the wrong style. It looks like a Craftsman style instead of a Victorian style. Remember, the house was built 1890, 132 years ago. This is the hall. And of course, here are the stairs going to the second. This is the main staircase. So when you come into the house, again, you come into the entryway, not too large, but you have a nice stair here with still some nice detail in existence that will get restored. This hallway leads back to the kitchen, and over here to my right is an opening for the parlor, if you will, equipped with furniture, no less. The interior of the house has been gutted. There's no plumbing, there's no heat, there's no electricity wiring. I've removed all of the wiring. As far as I can tell, the house was built in 1890, was originally built with wiring. It was electrified when it was built. And I have removed all of the old wiring and all of the old knobs and tubes. And what you can see up here is a series of holes in this particular joist, and that's where many of the wires ran through. Of course, they ran through a porcelain tube, and if the wire had to make a right angle turn to go another way, then it was wrapped around and secured by a knob. And I have hundreds of those left over from the demolition. Speaking of which, when the previous owner did the demolition, they did not take care to save all of the trim. So many of the windows and doors, the casing is gone. I've been told by my architect that the casing is what is known as capital casing. It's very wide and fluted, and you have the rosettes up at the top of the corners of each of the doors and windows. And then, of course, you would have a window stool, and then underneath would be an apron of the same profile as the side casings. So, as I say, most of the windows are original. I plan to keep the original sashes because it has the old glass. That'll be a project, and what in this house isn't. But here in the first floor, we have ceilings that are approximately 9 feet. We have ceiling joists here that are 16 inches on center. So, and this is all dimensional lumber, but of course, 132 years ago, when you wanted to get a 2x4, you got a piece of wood that was actually 2 inches by 4 inches, plus or minus a small fraction. Modern 2x4s are 1.5 inches by 3.5. So I've got a little more meat on this wood than the nominal size of its dimension would indicate based on modern lumber. So again, 16-inch on centers. This front part of the house is approximately 20 feet wide. The house has 2 chimneys, but no fireplaces. I've got this piece of cardboard in the way, but fortunately the original mantle was saved. And what we have in the where the fireplace might be expected to be is just the chimney with a steel pipe in it. And sometimes that's known as a thimble. And so what we had here originally was a stove would have been here invented to the chimney, as is the case in what is the dining room. And ignore my telephone, as I am doing too. So here is the chimney in the dining room. It also doubles as the chimney in the kitchen on the other side of this wall here. Likewise with the thimble for a wood stove that would vent into the chimney. There's no terracotta liner in this chimney. Typically, you didn't get a terracotta liner in middle-class American homes until after World War I. This chimney will not be used, and neither will the other chimney, for purposes of combustion, gas, or venting of any sort, as I plan to do a air-to-water heat pump system, have hydronic heating and air conditioning via the air-to-water heat pump. So, as I say, all of the walls and the ceilings have been stripped. Again, this is the dining room, and this is the door which will be replaced with a window. So there's an opening here from the dining room to the living room, as is there an opening from the living room or parlor to the entry hall. So we're going to go through that opening, and then we're going to go into what was the kitchen. Again, I believe the house was originally electrified when it was built, but it was not plumbed. I believe they had an outhouse to use, and at some point, well into the home's existence, plumbing was added. And as you can see, there's a cast iron waste pipe there, and outside on the back porch, the cast iron waste pipe is exterior to the main structure of the house. Goes down under the porch floor, makes a right turn. There's a clean out in the basement, and then it goes out to the sewer in the street. So my guess is that the street was not paved originally, so I'm not sure when the sewer line was installed, but obviously the sewer line would most likely have to have been installed for the subsequent addition of plumbing to the house, so that plumbing would have someplace to go, or the flush from the plumbing would have someplace to go. The chimney that is in the dining room is also here in the kitchen. The hole in the chimney is way up high, so I imagine there was a big old wood coal stove here at some point in the past. And again, all of our studs and all of our ceiling joists are 16-inch on center. One interesting facet, almost every opening, whether it's a window or a door, has a 3x4 piece of lumber, and that is evident here. So that's a 3x4 piece of lumber, and next to it, the regular stud is a 2x4 piece of lumber. So virtually all of these openings, again, whether it's a door or a window, would have had a, forgive my panning here, would have had a heavier piece of lumber for the rough opening. And you can see that there was a door here. This is off the porch on the other side, and you can see that when they blocked it up, they put in some horizontal boards here as sheathing. And but again, the heavier pieces of lumber for the studs adjoining the openings for doors and windows is evident here. So because this lumber is larger than modern lumber of the same nominal size, I'll have to figure out exactly how I'm going to attach it. Most likely I'll be attaching it on the flush with the inside, as the clapboards are firmly secured to the studs from the exterior, so no need for an additional nailing surface in most cases. So this will be the kitchen. As I say, this overall space I think is like about 19 feet by 16 feet. I plan to put a powder room in this space here. That window will go away. There will be a window where the door to the porch was, and I'll reconfigure this back wall, although I'll probably leave the door where it is, or the opening where it is. And speaking of doors, this is most likely the original front door, based on its style and based on the doorbell, which is right there in the middle. And you turn the knob, and the bell will ring, just like the old bells on bicycle handlebars. But typically of this time period, you'd have a nice piece of glass in the door for your front door. I don't know, but I think this door may have been cut down, but I'm not entirely sure yet, and I haven't measured the door or the front opening to see if this door can go back to the front. In any event, the other interesting thing about the house was at this level there was a stairwell here, so I don't know that they had a servant per se, but there is a back stair that came down from upstairs into the kitchen area, and then obviously you could come in this door into the kitchen, and you could go right upstairs without having to use the main entry. So perhaps there was a servant here at some point in time.